You and your colleagues, you develop predictive scenarios, executable strategies for organizations worldwide with research specializations. You particularly look at AI, at biotech. And Amy, what did you make of Trump and Xi's relations this week? Because much was left unsaid rather than just said.
That's right. I mean, I think the result here was certainly a de-escalation rather than a full reset, but it definitely did not end the AI Cold War or some of the consternations around other frontier technologies that are often in the mix when we talk about these two countries. So I would argue that this sort of moves the battlefield away from tariffs, but over to transistors for the time being.
Okay, let's go to transistors, because much was hyped that maybe Blackwell architecture chips from Nvidia would be discussed between the two leaders, and it wasn't. We understand today that Jensen Huang is still optimistic that he'll get some sort of access to China. What do you think about the realities of that?
Well, I think at the moment, what we have is predictability, where all we had before was growing uncertainty. So this could ease some short-term supply chain fears. So that definitely helps companies like Nvidia and AMD and other US semiconductor tool makers who had been frozen out of Chinese markets. But I also don't think that Nvidia is going to be allowed to sell just whatever it wants. That said, given Nvidia's new $5 trillion valuation, which also happened this week, this is really, really important, not just for investors, but for our entire economy. I think something like 40,000 companies use Nvidia GPUs and for AI and for accelerated computing. And their biggest customers are the big tech companies, Microsoft, AWS, Google, Oracle. And by market cap, these are some of America's biggest companies. So I don't think that the doors are open and there's going to be a fire sale overnight, but I do think there's reason to be more optimistic than maybe before.
But Amy, why does it matter to the US economy and some of the big players in Nvidia? Because Nvidia hit that $5 trillion market capitalization while saying they had zero sales into China. The idea being that they can actually go it alone.
Well, I think that's true today. The issue is what's coming in the future. So the CCP, every couple of years, every 5 years, they have very secretive meetings held in Beijing on their 5-year plans. And this happens with regularity. So this meeting just happened. And China's top priority is building what it's calling a modern industrial system, which is really code for making old industries smart and new industries unstoppable. So what this means is heavily investing in frontier sectors like aerospace, biomanufacturing, quantum, advanced materials, and improving supply chains. All of this requires those advanced chips. So effectively what this means is today, NVIDIA is probably fine. Going into the future, it gives Chinese AI champions and local chip makers much more time to domesticate their operations, their supply chains, and push their own homegrown chips, which is potentially great for China, but bad for the West.
So kind of more deep-seek moments, but from the actual underlying technology, not just the LLMs that is built upon it, Amy. I'm interested in what really the chokehold that China had found it had was rare earths. And there was some discussion around there. But how quickly is the US and Western nations able to become self-dependent in their own way on that front?
Look, I would love to offer some better news here, but the reality is that the materials for semiconductors come from, basically one place on the planet. While in the future, I think we'll be able to engineer our ways around those materials and those magnets. But at the moment, we're kind of hamstrung. And as much as the Trump administration has promised to make significant investments into advanced manufacturing here in the United States, the reality is nobody's going to be able to catch up when it comes to advanced manufacturing at scale. Certainly not over the next 4 years, not even here in the United States. So it doesn't mean that we're all at a huge competitive disadvantage. It does mean that even if the domestic market isn't hot within China, the CCP is banking on industrial modernization as the backbone of its national competitiveness, and it has government sponsorship and support and tremendous capital that it can put toward that effort.